92 people had their morning routines completely upended today when they were commanded to appear in Norfolk County Superior Court in Massachusetts. And when they got there, they had to take a test. What do you know about Karen Read? Most of the questions asked. It was a jury questionnaire that the prospective jurors had to fill out on day one of Karen Read's second murder trial. Imagine being called for that jury duty. But right now, 90 of those 92 are either very, very relieved or oddly disappointed that they did not get picked. And honestly, both of those reactions are completely valid. After all, Read's first jury deliberated for days before throwing up their hands and declaring they were deadlocked, unable to decide whether Read killed her police officer boyfriend with her SUV on a snowy night back in January of 2022. So now, here we are. We're back at it again, with Read facing charges of second-degree murder all over again, as well as manslaughter while under the influence of alcohol and leaving the scene of a personal injury and death. So how does Karen Read herself feel about all of that?
I feel good. Excuse me, I'm eating chips.
You're all right. Feel good?
Yeah, I feel good.
Optimistic?
I always feel good. I always feel optimistic. Yep. I have faith. I have great support. I have great attorneys. I have the truth. I'm not afraid of anything, so I always feel good. I feel blessed.
You got to feel comfortable if you're eating chips on the way into court, right? Or out. Let's get right to NewsNation national correspondent Caitlin Becker. She is live right now outside of that courthouse in Dedham, Massachusetts. Caitlin, normally when I go to a reporter outside of a courthouse, there's some fancy courthouse in the background, all nicely lit up. But there's a reason that we're going to you in the location that you are, because you're basically showing me the treatment that all their supporters got today.
Ashleigh, this is where the Free Karen Read supporters have to be. It's called a new buffer zone. I'm a couple hundred feet away from the courthouse. The city actually had these metal signs made and attached to light posts and signposts all around the courthouse so that protesters know they cannot go past this sign and get closer to the courthouse. I'm going to walk a little bit closer to it so you can see just how far away it is. Now, the reason they have to stay away, no signage, no bullhorns, no flags, is because the judge says she doesn't want the jury to be influenced. So there was a handful of them pretty pissed off, for lack of a better term, earlier today that they were being pushed so far back. I mean, you're still walking with me towards the courthouse here, Ash, but we're still not even to where the jury had walked in, and there were barricades flanking these streets earlier today. A bunch of them are still up, and I'll get you closer to them in a little bit, but they were pushed pretty far away, hundreds and hundreds of feet. And they say they're peacefully protesting, but I don't even think Karen Read could have heard them when I saw her walking in and out of that courthouse today.
I keep thinking you're going to trip as you're walking backwards, but you are really, really good at that, Caitlin. And thank you for showing me. I didn't actually realize how far back they'd been pushed this time round. In all the pictures and video that everybody's seen in the Karen Read documentary from round one, they were right there. They were there. They were yelling and screaming and cheering for her as she was walking by, almost high-fiving them last time round. So very different feel and look this time. So here's the big thing. The jury questionnaire that I read last night, because we got our hands on it early, was so amazing. It covered everything. Like, I don't even know what else you could have covered in life other than do you like puppies or kitties. But they only picked 2 out of 92, and that pace seems really, really, really slow to me. How do they feel about this?
Really slow. Yeah, it feels really slow. The judge and the lawyers are anticipating that this is going to take a couple of weeks. And Ashleigh, in addition to only 2 of them being picked, 78 out of those 92 said that they were familiar with Karen Read in the trial. But the most important question, I think, for both sides here and the judge is whether or not they had already formulated an opinion about this case and about this trial. And a handful of them said that they had. So they had to be immediately dismissed. A couple of the other questions on that questionnaire that you mentioned had to do with law enforcement, because as we all well know from the first time around, there are going to be a ton of officers taking the stand. So they want to know from from these prospective jurors. About 1,200 of them, I was told, are going to be polled between now and the beginning of trial. They want to know if they are likely to trust an officer on the stand just because they are an officer, or likely to distrust an officer on the stand just because they are an officer. So it's going to be a long road, Ash.
Speaking of that, it's been a long road since her last trial. Can you just set the stage for me on what happened last time?
Yeah, it comes down to really two questions. Did Karen Reed mow down her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her Lexus in a driveway on a blizzardy night and then leave him for dead in the cold? Or is she being framed in a conspiracy by corrupt cops? Last time around, jurors could not decide.
9 weeks of testimony, 74 witnesses, and more than 650 exhibits. The jury deadlocked after 4 days of deliberation.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
So what really happened that frigid January night? Things appeared to have started out just fine. Karen Reed and her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe, spent a night bar hopping with friends. CCTV footage showing the group tossing back drink after drink after drink after drink. The fun then moving to an after party at the home of fellow officer Brian Albert. And it's here that things get messy. The prosecution theory is simple. Karen and John were going through a rough patch. They argued, and when Karen dropped him off, she did a 3-point turn out of the driveway, ran him over, and left him for dead in a blizzard. The defense, on the other hand, says the couple parted ways in the driveway just fine, but that something happened inside the house, an altercation at the party where O'Keefe was beaten and then callously tossed into the snow. It was Karen who would find him the next morning, battered, bruised, and frozen in the yard. O'Keefe's cause of death, hypothermia and blunt force trauma.
Free Karen Reed! Free Karen Reed! Free Karen Reed!
Karen's defense team and her very vocal supporters claim that she's being framed, a victim of rampant corruption within the police department. Bits of a broken cocktail glass and shards from a busted taillight were found at the crime scene. Investigators believing that taillight broke off of Reed's Lexus when she backed over her boyfriend. Reed's team claiming it was planted by crooked cops protecting their own. The lead investigator on the case, State Trooper Michael Proctor, found himself in hot water on the stand for texting offensive comments about his prime suspect.
From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job. CUN.
A disciplinary board recently kicked him off the force for good. And then there's the Google search done by Jennifer McCabe. Now, she was inside the party that night and the last person to text with O'Keefe. Her search asking how long it takes to die in the cold. But when she made that inquiry, before or after he was found dead, depends on who you ask.
Ash, these barricades are all around the courthouse trying to make sure that no one is going to get close to Karen Reed this time around. This is where I saw her, all smiles, coming in and out of court today. But they even have caution tape up and down here so the media and the press can't get around. But as of tomorrow morning, we are back in jury selection, and another roughly 100 people are going to be interviewed in voir dire tomorrow, Ashleigh.
Fantastic job at taking me to the location and taking me back in time. Caitlin Becker, thank you so much. I look forward to your next report. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ash.
Caitlin joining us live tonight. Now I want to bring in Joe Tacopina, longtime defense attorney, friend of the show, friend of mine, very good at his job. Okay, Joey Tac, here's the deal. I'm going to list off all the things in this case that are the same. Same judge, same courtroom, same defendant, same prosecutors, same evidence, same accusations, same denials. And here are the two things that are different, the jury and maybe the outcome. What are your thoughts about this second round?
My thoughts are that it's a new trial. You have 12 new people who will decide it. But I think, when you have a case like this, where the defense has had the advantage of seeing the prosecution's entire case go through a dry run, if you will, and to also have the prosecution's chief investigator implode and since been fired, I think the advantage goes drastically to the defense at this point. But you are going to have 12 new people listen to this evidence anew. It doesn't matter what 12 other people thought. It's going to matter what these 12 people thought. But based on what I know about the case, and look, I just don't see how you convict beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the standard. Remember, Ashleigh, we all talk about did she do it, did she not do it? It's not she probably did it. It's not it's likely she did it. It's not I'm almost certain she did it. In a criminal case, the standard is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. There is no reason to doubt she did it. You could almost be certain she did it. That's not guilty. Okay? And people have to remember that. And Alan Jackson is very good at what he does. And Alan's a friend of mine, and I know him well. And he's going to make sure that reasonable doubt charge is before that jury and inside of that deliberation room, because that's what this case is going to rise and fall on.
Well, Netflix just released a really good docuseries on her just within the last few weeks, and there's just been so much media. The jury form alone, the questionnaire, was almost a full page of how much do you know about Karen and the media and the case and TikTok and all the rest. And I just wondered, how are you going to find a jury when you have almost precluded every factor of society? Do you have any issue with cops one way or the other? Do you have an issue with drinking and driving? Do you have an issue with domestic violence? Do you have an issue with the media? Do you have an issue with this lady? Do you have an issue with being in a public event? All these things. It's like, how on earth can you find someone that can be fair and impartial and click the right boxes?
Well, you're not going to find someone who knows nothing about this case, especially from that community. If you do, you're finding a liar. But what you want to find is someone who says, yeah, I've read the media about this, or I've heard about it. I know cops. I know people who've had experiences with cops. But can I put it all aside and listen to the evidence fairly and objectively, receive the law as the judge gives it to me, and listen to the facts without bias? Can I do that? I can do that. And there are jurors who can do that. There are people who can do that. That's what we do in jury selection. The problem with jury selection in this courtroom and in this state, it's archaic. Ashleigh, it's archaic. The reason why we have 2 jurors so far out of 96 is because it's an archaic system. The defense filed motions for a panel voir dire here. And voir dire is the jury selection process, right? It means to speak the truth. So when you get to question jurors, here, this jury system that they do in Massachusetts is you questioning one juror at a time. One juror at a time, not in a panel, where normally the jury box is filled, and you're questioning the jurors, and you're seeing how they interact with each other, and you're letting them speak, sometimes to each other, sometimes answering questions. There's a synergy that you're picking up. That's part of the jury selection process. Here, you're speaking to one juror at a sidebar, out of the presence of everyone else, and you're being allowed to ask 4 or 5 questions as a defense attorney. That is insufficient. It's basically like reading tea leaves, and you just don't know. I know the questionnaire is thorough, but a questionnaire, people could fill out, yes, no, whatever. It's different than when you hear the spoken word, how they speak and how they say things, and you get to follow up with questions. When you're allowed 4 or 5 questions, and it's done at a sidebar in a very sort of artificial setting, it's not really, really that good.
Let me switch gears and get you to put on another hat for a second, although I very much like the one you're wearing. But the Pam Bondi decision today, the Attorney General suggesting to the DOJ that she would like the DOJ to go after the death penalty for Luigi Mangione, the young, handsome man who is up on charges of executing a healthcare executive on the streets of New York City. First of all, that is a very big deal when you seek the death penalty in a federal murder case. Secondly, does anybody think that you can find a jury that will all be okay with that, given the unbelievable groundswell of support that he's had?
Well, let's start with the first one. It is a big deal, but this is a new administration. President Trump and Pam Bondi, who I've known for 2 decades, and Pam's a terrific lawyer, and she's going to follow what she believes the law is. And the law allows for there to be a federal death penalty, assuming the administration wants to apply, which clearly they do, when there's murder through the use of a firearm and commission of crimes of violence. And here, there is a crime of violence and commission of firearms use. And here they're saying there was a political bent here. And clearly there was. It was a anti-corporate America, anti-health insurance bent. So you have the ability to seek a federal death penalty. So that's one. They're within their rights, and Pam Bondi certainly has the ability to do it, and it's going to be approved. I have no doubt about that. Will they ever get it is the next question. I think that's And Ashleigh, here's why. Look, it's probably very unlikely. I don't think because he's cute. First of all, I don't even think he's cute. But I mean, putting that aside, I don't ever look at a murderer, a cowardly murderer, as cute. Okay, this guy is a murderer. He murdered a guy from behind in cold blood with 2 kids and a wife, basically in the Christmas season, and then ran like a little coward. You're a tough guy. You want to be a hero to the people. Stand there, murder him, and say why you did it. But murdering someone, shooting them from behind in the back, and then running away is not really making someone a hero. But this guy has been hero worshipped by people in a most repulsively unintelligent fashion. Okay, and I think those people, and the sick part of this, Ashleigh, is a lot of these people come from Ivy League schools, and they have this justification. If that's the case, we should go murder CEOs of Pfizer. I mean, why would we hit all the big pharma, CEOs? And this guy's only United Healthcare. There's other insurance companies. I mean, might as well start whacking all the CEOs of corporate America who we disagree with their policies on. I mean, literally, that's what this guy did. That being said, it is not a mass murder. It's not a mass shooting. It's not an act of terrorism.
Right.
It's a horrible crime. It's a horrible crime. But as serious as it is, it doesn't fit the rubric of someone who should be put to death traditionally. Sure. So it's not because he thinks he's cute or he's got curly hair, he wears Dockside shoes or something. I don't think anyone cares about that, because the evidence is going to come in that he murdered an innocent man with 2 children and a wife. So I think I'm going to put on
the defense attorney hat for a second, and I'm going to say, you make an amazing argument, but here I go. But he is innocent until proven guilty, of course, and he will get his day in court. And you, my friend, have to come back and talk to me again, because I love our conversations, Joey Tack. Thank you for this.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.